Let's be honest. Your life is probably filled with things that don't serve you, that hold you back, and drain your energy. But have you ever asked yourself why you keep carrying all of that? Sometimes the boldest act of rebellion isn't making noise. It's quietly removing everything that doesn't help you grow. Toxic relationships, gone. Self-sabotaging habits, outside. And no, you don't need to make a big scene or wait for anyone's approval. In today's video, I'll show you how to follow a key lesson from Zen philosophy. Let go of what you can't control and set yourself free. Because, my friend, life is far too short to be chained to other people's expectations. I'll walk you through 10 things you should absolutely cut from your life. Things that are not only cluttering your space, but also destroying your peace of mind. These silent enemies are draining you before you even realize it. And if you don't take action, you might lose something even more precious, your inner peace. So start today, quietly and with no excuses. In the end, what you leave behind says more about you than what you cling to. Are you ready to finally start living for real? But before we dive in, pay close attention to this story, which will help you understand the wisdom behind this message. In a small mountain village lived a young wood carver named Aiko. She was famous for her ability to carve intricate sculptures and her courage to work during the harshest winters. However, over the years, Aiko had piled up piles of broken tools and scraps of wood she no longer needed. But out of habit, she kept them. Every time she set out to collect fresh wood from the forest, her cart was overloaded with unnecessary junk, slowing her down. One day, as she prepared for a long journey into the snowy mountains, a blizzard struck. The heavy winds pushed against her cart, and she realized that the excess baggage was making it almost impossible to move forward. For hours, she battled the storm, but it wasn't just the snow that was her enemy. It was all the extra weight she carried. On the verge of collapse, Aiko made a difficult but necessary choice. She started tossing out everything she didn't truly need. First, she threw away the broken chisels, then the cracked wooden pieces, and finally even some sentimental items she had kept for years but no longer served her. With each item she let go of, her cart grew lighter and she could move more freely. The storm raged on, but Aiko no longer felt trapped by her past. Thanks to this bold decision, she managed to reach her cabin safely. When she returned to the village, exhausted but alive, her fellow villagers asked how she had survived such a brutal storm. Aiko, with a calm smile, replied, "There are moments in life when we hold on to things we don't need. Old tools, past memories, or people who only weigh us down. Only when we choose to let go, quietly and without drama, can we truly move forward and find freedom." The moral of this story is simple. In life, there are many things we need to silently release to move ahead. Sometimes the burdens we carry keep us from navigating our own journey lightly. Only by dropping this weight can we discover our true path. Before we jump into the first step, if you find value in this type of content, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to stay updated. Let's get started. 1. The fear of other people's opinions. Have you ever stopped to wonder how many decisions in your life were driven by fear of what others might think? That fear creeps under your skin, stopping you from being your true self. It's like living constantly on a stage, performing under the critical gaze of an audience that, in reality, isn't even paying attention to you. Do you know why? Most of the time, people are too busy wrestling with their own insecurities to actually judge you. Yet, you freeze. The fear of judgment is like a silent parasite, feeding on your dreams, clinging to your back, and whispering doubts in your ear every time you think about doing something bold or different. What will they say? And suddenly, you change direction, shaping your life to fit what you believe others expect from you. What irony! We spend so much energy worrying about what others think that we forget to live the life we truly want. This fear pushes us to please people who often aren't even part of our real lives. It's as if our inner compass got flipped. Instead of following our true north, we chase a false south dictated by society. You put on masks that fit whatever expectations are around you, at work, with friends, even on social media. But what about the real you? The one hiding beneath layers of fake smiles and borrowed opinions. Sometimes, this fear is even sneakier. It disguises itself as caution. Now's not the right time. Maybe I'm not good enough. Excuses dressed up as wisdom, but deep down, they hide the same monster, the fear of judgment. Meanwhile, your dreams sit on a dusty shelf, waiting for the perfect moment that never arrives. To finally break free from this fear, we need to practice a Stoic mindset. The Stoics taught that we can't control what others think about us, but we can control how we respond. Sounds simple, right? But it's not. It takes constant self-reflection and courage. It means learning to live for yourself, making decisions that truly make you happy, not just to impress or please others. Life is far too short to live under the shadow of someone else's opinion. A powerful practice is to start quietly removing things from your life that add no real value, things that exist only to please others. Do you feel obligated to keep up a certain image? Did you choose a career that doesn't fulfill you just because it seemed right to others? Free yourself from these chains. Start with small steps. Say no to commitments you don't truly want. Do something you've always wanted to do, but held back out of fear of judgment. Each small act will be a step toward freedom. I won't lie, it won't be easy. There will be days when the weight of other people's opinions feels crushing. But in those moments, remember, every time you choose to live by what others think, you lose a piece of your true self. It's a kind of slow, silent death, one you can avoid if you have the courage to stay true to yourself. So start letting go, quietly. You don't have to announce it to the world. Just set aside what doesn't belong to you, what doesn't match your essence. Learn to trust your own judgment and to value what you think of yourself more than what anyone else might say. Because at the end of the day, the only person you truly owe anything to is yourself. As Carl Jung said, freedom begins the moment you stop caring about what others think of you. 2. Toxic relationships. There's a saying I really love. There's no one more blind than the person who refuses to see. I'm sure you've heard it before. Interestingly, we often apply this selective blindness to our own relationships. We get used to dealing with people who, in one way or another, take more from us than they give. Yes, I'm talking about those toxic relationships that slowly drain your energy bit by bit without you even noticing. What's even more surprising is that we cling to them as if they were essential to our survival. And I don't just mean romantic relationships. Toxic connections can appear anywhere, in your family, your circle of friends, at work. And here's the thing, no one is forcing you to keep these people in your life. Yet there you are, silently tolerating, as if letting go would somehow offend the universe. Why do we do this? Maybe because we were taught that breaking ties is a sign of weakness or coldness, as if cutting someone off was cruel, when in reality, it might be the greatest act of self-love you'll ever perform. Let's bring in a bit of philosophy. The Stoics taught us not to worry about what we can't control, and this applies perfectly to the people around us. You can't control how others act, but you can absolutely choose whether or not to keep them in your life. It sounds simple, but here's the hard part: doing it quietly. And don't get me wrong, this isn't about silent revenge or feeling superior. It's simply a conscious decision not to feed a relationship that drains you. Think about it. You don't need drama to let go of what no longer serves you. There's no need to shout to the world that you're detoxing from certain people. Just let go. It's like stopping the watering of a plant that no longer blooms. You do it calmly, knowing it no longer belongs in your garden, and that's okay. The plant moves on its path, you move on yours, and life goes on. Have you ever spent time with someone, even someone close, and left feeling completely drained? It's not necessarily that they're bad, but their energy just doesn't align with yours. This is where the key lies: noticing these relationships. Listen to your body and your mind. If every interaction feels like an emotional marathon, maybe you're stuck in a toxic connection. It can be painful to admit, but it's necessary. And here's where the strategy of silence comes in. Gradually reduce contact. Stop reaching out first. Step back. You don't need big confrontations or dramatic exits. Just stop making yourself available. It's liberating, trust me. Not because you're turning your back on the world, but because you're prioritizing your well-being. Sometimes self-love isn't about loudly saying no, but about quietly saying enough. So, how do you recognize these relationships? It's simple. If seeing a message from them knots your stomach, if hanging out leaves you more exhausted than an entire week of work, if you notice you're always the one giving and never receiving, then you already have your answer. Once this becomes clear, begin the process of letting go. No drama, no unnecessary explanations. Just move on. In the end, it's not about being cruel or holding grudges. It's about respecting yourself enough not to allow your energy to be endlessly drained. Energy you could spend with people and activities that truly nourish you. Remember this clearly, my friend. Some people are like the wind. You can feel them, but you can't hold on to them. You just need to let them pass. 3. Self-destructive habits. Sometimes you catch yourself doing little things that, deep down, you know aren't leading you anywhere. They're actions that seem harmless at first, but slowly erode your mental or physical peace without you realizing. I've fallen into this trap more times than I'd like to admit. Those small, self-destructive habits that slip by unnoticed, like a slow drip that eventually wears down even the hardest stone. But what if these habits are the stones blocking our daily path? How do we remove them without making a big scene? First, we need to recognize them. And here's the tricky part. It's easy to spot flaws in others, but it's much harder to see them in ourselves. You wake up in the morning and reach for your phone, Not for something important, of course, but out of sheer habit, as if your finger is programmed to swipe before your brain is even fully awake. Seems harmless, right? Until you realize you just lost 20 minutes of your morning mindlessly scrolling, already mentally overloaded before even getting out of bed. And that's just one example. We do this with so many things. That extra cup of coffee we don't really need, that pointless conversation we knew we shouldn't have had, that mind-numbing show we keep watching just because it's easy. All these tiny habits slowly carve a deep hole in our well-being. Now, eliminating these habits is another story. Let's be honest. How many times have you promised to stop something only to end up doing it even more? You say, tomorrow I'll really start. But then tomorrow arrives, and it's just another day full of excuses. This is where a lesson from the Stoics comes in. Those ancient philosophers believed that true transformations don't happen in big, dramatic moments. They happen in small, almost invisible steps. You don't need to announce to the world that you're going to change or make some grand gesture. You just need to start paying attention. The key is awareness. When you catch your hand reaching for your phone without a reason, stop. No need to throw it out the window, although that might feel pretty satisfying. Just put it aside and do something else instead. Something as simple as taking a deep breath and stretching. When you feel the urge for that third cup of coffee, ask yourself, do I really need this, or is it just habit? If it's just inertia, set the cup down. Sometimes it really is that simple. Stop at the right moment. No drama, no monumental changes. Getting rid of self-destructive habits doesn't mean you'll become a perfect person overnight. We all have our small internal battles, and that's okay. The key is to approach them with a simple strategy: silence and consistency. Like a drop that, instead of wearing something down, slowly polishes and shapes. And if someday you feel like you're not making progress, remember this: what seems like a tiny effort today will over time transform into a major victory. You might not notice the results right away, but it's like planting a seed. One day, without fanfare, it grows into a tree. The same thing happens with these small adjustments. So next time you spot a habit that harms you more than it helps, let it go quietly. You don't need to announce it or make a show. Just release it, step by step, drop by drop. As Epictetus said, true change doesn't shout. It simply happens. 4. The desire to control everything. Have you ever felt that if you don't have absolute control over everything around you, your entire world might collapse? Don't worry, I get it. We love to believe that if we can plan every tiny detail and prepare for every unexpected twist, life will run like a perfectly tuned machine where nothing can possibly go wrong. What a wild illusion, right? Yet, we still find ourselves stuck in this mental trap, convinced we can dominate everything that happens to us. It's a mirage, and the worst part? The more we try to cling to control, the more we feel we're losing our balance. So let me ask you, what if you let go of this obsessive need to control? That constant urge to make sure everything turns out exactly as you pictured it. The desire to control everything is nothing more than a mental prison. We build it brick by brick every time we believe that, with enough effort, life will unfold exactly as we planned. But here's the truth: the universe doesn't work that way. The ancient Stoic philosophy, so timeless and relevant, teaches us that the key is not in controlling what we can't, but in letting go of the unnecessary and focusing on what actually depends on us. Think about it. We try to control the weather, other people's opinions, their reactions, the outcomes of our efforts. All things that aren't really in our hands. It's like trying to hold back the ocean waves with your fingers, a complete waste of energy. Yet, we do it all the time. And every time something doesn't go as we expected, we get frustrated, angry, as if the universe had betrayed us. What irony, right? Imagine you're carrying a backpack. Every time you try to control something beyond your reach, you add a rock to it. At first, you might not feel the weight. But over time, the backpack becomes unbearably heavy until it crushes you. Wouldn't it be better to drop those rocks? To make space for what truly matters, what you can actually control, your emotions, your actions, your choices. The rest, let it go. For a long time, I obsessed over predicting everything that could possibly go wrong in my life. If I had a meeting, I would rehearse every awkward question in my mind. If I planned a night out with friends, I worried about the place, the weather, anything that could ruin the plan. It was exhausting. And you know what usually happened? Most of the things I worried about never even came close to happening. In the end, I realized that trying to foresee and control everything didn't give me more control. It only gave me more anxiety. So I started to let go. Little by little, I learned to trust the process. And what happened? Life kept happening. Some moments were good, some weren't. But I felt lighter because I stopped carrying what wasn't my responsibility. Trusting life doesn't mean being passive or careless. It means maturely accepting that there are things outside your hands, and that's okay. Quietly release this need to control everything. Make space for the unexpected, for surprises, for what lies beyond your reach. This doesn't mean you should just sit back and watch life pass by. It's about freeing yourself from unnecessary weight and accepting that part of the path will never be yours to control. And you know what? That's liberating. Remember, sometimes letting go is the most powerful way to take control. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, true control lies in the ability to let go of what you cannot control. 5. Unrealistic expectations. I don't know about you, but I spent a huge part of my life believing I had to be perfect. No one ever told me this directly, but it was always there, floating between well-meaning comments, approving looks, and that silent, endless comparison to everyone around me. I grew up convinced that meeting other people's expectations, and worse, my own, was the definition of success. What a huge lie. Think about it. Trying to meet unrealistic expectations is like trying to fill a bottomless well with a bucket full of holes. You never finish. You're always exhausted. And in the end, all that's left is a sad puddle of frustration at your feet. The strangest part? Many of these expectations aren't even ours. They were built by others, family, friends, society, and we adopted them, believing that in order to become better, we had to meet them. Try a quick exercise. How many times have you felt disappointed for not achieving something you didn't even truly want? Exactly. We set the bar so impossibly high that when we fall short, we feel worthless. If I'm not the best at my job, the perfect partner, the ideal friend, the exemplary child, what's left of me? These expectations end up weighing more than our actual actions. It's like running a marathon with a backpack full of rocks. You move slower, get tired faster, and even if you reach the finish line, you feel like you crawled there. What's the point? Here's where Stoic philosophy offers brilliant insight. According to the Stoics, you can't control what others think of you or guarantee that the universe will act in your favor. What you can control is how you react to it all. The key, then, is to lighten the load. Lower those suffocating expectations. If you expect less from yourself and from others, it doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're freeing yourself. You're no longer chained to the constant pressure of living up to the impossible. You're simply existing and moving forward. Of course, this magic doesn't happen overnight. I'm not saying to throw all your expectations out the window at once. Think of it like cleaning out a closet overflowing with old clothes. First, look at what no longer fits, what you never really liked, and start getting rid of it, one piece at a time. Sometimes you'll hesitate to let go of a shirt because you think, maybe I'll wear it someday, but deep down, you know you won't. It's the same with expectations. Start by eliminating the ones that don't belong to you. Then, examine your own. Are they realistic? You don't have to keep them all. Something that helps reduce expectations without drama is to change the way you talk to yourself. For example, instead of saying, I need to do everything perfectly, try, I'll do the best I can with what I have today. It sounds simple, but it's incredibly liberating. You create space for mistakes, which are human, and for the possibility of improving without constant pressure. Another foolproof trick: stop telling everyone your plans. The less noise you make, the fewer expectations people place on you. After all, external expectations are just that, noise. Quietly eliminate what doesn't serve you. You'll start to notice that everything begins to flow more naturally. Letting go of expectations isn't giving up. It's an act of wisdom. Instead of focusing on what you should do or be, focus on what you truly want and what's actually under your control. Fewer expectations, more freedom. Remember this, my friend. The less you expect, the lighter you become. 6. The need to always be right. Have you ever noticed that you have this almost obsessive urge to always be right? To be the one who knows it all? It's as if every conversation were a battlefield and the ultimate victory was proving your point. A silent but relentless fight. And the worst part? This war isn't with others, it's with yourself. Every time you insist on having the last word, it's like you're desperately trying to convince yourself that your worth depends on it. Isn't it exhausting? Because, honestly, I'm tired of this endless race. We were taught to believe that we always need to have the correct answer, as if making a mistake were a sign of weakness. Society, social media, and even family dinners constantly reinforce the idea that failing means you're a failure. But let me tell you a secret. Sometimes being right is the least important thing in life. Stoic philosophy teaches us to accept what we can't control. And you know what? You can't control other people's perception of you. This endless need to prove you're right leads nowhere except to more anxiety, more frustration, and in the end, more loneliness. Ask yourself, what do I actually gain by always being right? An invisible medal? Not really worth it, is it? It's like carrying a suitcase full of unnecessary rocks. With every argument or forced opinion, you add another stone until the weight becomes unbearable. You end up wondering why you're so exhausted. The answer is simple. You're draining yourself over something that holds no real value. Next time you feel that urge to prove your point, try staying silent. Not out of resignation, but out of liberation. It's like dropping a pen you didn't realize you've been gripping for hours. When you finally let it go, you feel a relief you didn't even know you needed. The same thing happens with the need to always be right. When you release that burden, you realize you were stuck in a fight you never even wanted to join. So how do you let go of this need? Accept that you don't have to know everything. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to not have a perfectly formed opinion on every topic. You're not competing in some global wisdom contest. Learn to truly listen, not to reply, but to understand. There's a massive difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is biological. Listening is an art. When you listen carefully, the urge to jump in and impose your point of view starts to fade away. Enjoy the silence. Sometimes the best argument is simply allowing someone else to have the last word. Not every conversation needs a winner, because in the end, winning an argument isn't the same as having peace. Is it really worth being right if it costs you your inner calm? Absolutely not. Next time you find yourself in a conversation and feel that itch to correct or dominate, take a deep breath. Drop the pen. Let it go. The peace you'll feel is worth infinitely more than any fleeting victory. And if you need reassurance, remember the Stoics. They knew that true wisdom isn't about winning every battle, but knowing when not to fight. As Seneca said, true knowledge lies not in defeating every opponent, but in knowing when to step back. 7. Digital noise. Have you ever noticed how surrounded you are by digital noise? I'm not just talking about the cars on the street or the neighbor drilling holes in the wall. I mean that other noise, the one in your pocket, in your hands, in your eyes. Social media, endless notifications, messages that never stop coming. It feels like everything is designed to distract you, to keep you in a permanent state of alert. And there you are, thinking you're in control, when in reality, it's the digital chaos that controls you. The truth is, we live in an era where silence is a luxury. But here's the thing, that luxury isn't as unreachable as it seems. The first step is to understand what's truly stealing your attention. There are things you need to quietly eliminate from your life. And yes, it's possible, even if it's not obvious at first. Let me be honest, digital chaos doesn't disappear just because you close an app. That would be like trying to put out a forest fire with a glass of water. What you need is a radical approach, like the ancient Stoics, who knew that inner peace was what really mattered. And they didn't achieve it by giving in to every external distraction. So, what should you quietly eliminate from your life? First, social media. I know it sounds cliche, but believe me, the more accounts you follow, the more noise you create. I'm not saying you need to disappear completely, but really think about it. Do you need to know what your friend's cousin's neighbor had for lunch? Mercilessly cut out what doesn't add value. And if you can, do a digital decluttering every now and then, like cleaning out an overflowing closet. Remove what no longer serves you or what never belonged there in the first place. Second, notifications. This is where it gets interesting. Why do you allow your phone to interrupt you every few minutes? Every time it buzzes or pings, your brain jumps. This doesn't just steal your time, it drains your mental energy. Turn off all non-essential notifications. At first, you might feel anxious, like you're missing something important. But later, when you realize how good it feels to control when and how you check your phone, you'll thank yourself. Third, the fear of missing out. FOMO. The modern monster. We live with this constant feeling that if we're not connected, we'll miss something crucial. But here's a hard truth. What truly matters isn't on the screen. It's around you, in people, in real moments that slip by while you're stuck on the latest viral meme. Let go of that fear. Release the need to be everywhere at once. Because the more you try to embrace the entire digital world, the more you lose what truly matters. Once you get rid of this unnecessary noise, something magical happens. You begin to hear what truly matters. Digital silence is the first step toward reconnecting with yourself, your real thoughts, your real priorities. That's where Stoic philosophy comes in. You can't control what happens outside of you, but you can decide how you react to it. When you eliminate digital noise, everything else becomes clearer. My advice? Choose silence. Not as an absence of sound, but as a conscious presence of what you truly want in your life. Because in the end, that's the real luxury of our age. As Gandhi said, peace doesn't come when the noise stops, but when you choose to listen to yourself. 8. Negative thoughts. Have you ever noticed how negative thoughts slip into your mind so quietly, like uninvited guests who show up without knocking, and worse, refuse to leave? The most frustrating part? You often end up handing them the keys, not because you want to, but because they've convinced you they're supposed to be there, that they're just a normal part of your everyday life. But what if I told you, you can change the locks? Let's be real. These thoughts are nothing more than destructive patterns that shape your actions, and not in the best way. I'm sure you've caught yourself thinking things like, why does everything go wrong for me? Or I'll never make it. And of course, when these thoughts repeat over and over, you start to believe them. And what you believe, you act on. It's like planting a poison tree and then wondering why its fruits aren't edible. The strange thing is that these negative thoughts don't actually reflect reality, but they feel as real as the ground beneath your feet. This is where Stoic philosophy, with its raw simplicity, comes in. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. It sounds so simple, yet in practice, we often let these mental patterns dictate our emotions and actions. True freedom is about taking back the reins of our responses. So where do you start? The first key is silence. Yes, you read that right. You don't need to make a dramatic scene to eliminate these thoughts. Just quietly start recognizing when they appear. Notice them, but don't feed them. The more attention you give them, the more power they gain. Think of them like a fly buzzing in your room. If you obsess over catching it, you just end up more agitated. What if you simply ignored it until it got tired and flew away? Second, question your thoughts. When a destructive idea pops up, ask yourself, is this really true? Is everything truly going wrong, or is that just an exaggerated story your mind is telling you? Often, you'll find they're inflated ideas without any solid ground. And if there is some truth, you can shift to thinking about solutions instead of being stuck in the problem. Third, detachment. I'm not telling you to become a monk meditating on a mountaintop, but start creating emotional distance from your thoughts. They are not you. Just because a thought enters your mind doesn't mean it needs to stay there. It takes practice, but little by little, you'll learn to see them for what they are. Passing clouds in a sky that remain steady and strong. Negative thoughts are one of those small but powerful things you should quietly eliminate from your life. No big show needed, just careful focus, patience, and inner questioning. Because at the end of the day, what you think shapes what you do, and what you do defines who you are. As Brian Tracy said so well, thoughts are not facts, but if you believe them, they become your reality. 9. Physical and mental clutter. Sometimes you wake up and feel like the world is a bit heavier than usual. You look around and realize it's not just a feeling. Your space is overflowing. Piles of papers, clothes draped over chairs, random objects scattered everywhere, and somehow your mind feels like a messy drawer too. I don't know if this happens to you, but when my environment is chaotic, my mind usually follows. Physical and mental clutter are more connected than we'd like to admit. There's something deeply draining about disorder. A messy space clouds your mental clarity. The Stoics often spoke about the importance of focusing on what's essential and letting go of the unnecessary. And if you think about it, clutter is exactly the opposite of that. It's everything non-essential, everything that distracts and derails you. All that accumulated stuff doesn't just take up physical space. It consumes your energy. Every item out of place, every old document that should have been tossed months ago, every object blocking your path. They're not just things, they're noise. Noise that fills your mind with silent to-dos and hidden worries you didn't even know existed. You know that feeling when you want to organize something but don't even know where to start? That's the secret. It's not about organizing everything at once. It's about quietly letting go of what no longer serves you. The first step is simple. Observe. Look around and ask yourself, do I really need all this? If you haven't used something in ages, chances are you don't need it anymore, but it's not just about physical stuff. Mental clutter works the same way. We often hold on to thoughts, worries, and feelings like someone hoarding broken tools, thinking they'll be useful someday. The truth? Keeping all that only weighs you down. So what can you do? Eliminate in silence. Gradually, you don't need to announce it to the world or make a big show. Just let it go. Whether it's physical or mental clutter, sometimes silence is an act of quiet rebellion in a noisy world. If there are people in your life who drain your energy, projects that no longer excite you, thoughts that only exhaust you, release them. No drama, no endless explanations. Just let them go. The exterior reflects the interior. Remember, often external order mirrors inner clarity. When you start creating a little order around you bit by bit, that clarity will begin to reach your mind too. It's not magic, it's a process, like cleaning out a drawer and suddenly feeling lighter. Because in the end, every object in its place is one less worry in your mind. Every item you release is a step toward a lighter, clearer life. The Stoics didn't complicate life with unnecessary baggage. They knew the key was to focus on what truly matters and let everything else flow away. Living surrounded by physical and mental clutter is like wandering endlessly in a maze. But once you start letting go of what you don't need, you discover the exit was always there. You just couldn't see it under the excess. If you want mental peace, start by organizing what's around you. Do it quietly, patiently, and consistently. Your mind will thank you for it. As Nelson Mandela said, when the noise quiets down, the essential becomes clear. 10 unnecessary comparisons. Sometimes I catch myself wondering, why do we have this habit of constantly comparing ourselves to others? Let's be honest, we all do it. But tell me, has it ever truly helped you? It's like running a race where no one else knows they're competing, and worse, they probably don't even care. Meanwhile, you're there in your own head, measuring every step, every stumble, every small win, but not yours, theirs. Comparing yourself is like trying to win a singing contest using someone else's voice. It makes no sense. You have your own melody, your own rhythm, yet you keep trying to follow someone else's sheet music. The problem is that this seemingly harmless habit slowly chips away at your self-esteem. You wake up one day feeling like you're not good enough, not fast enough, not enough, all because you're too busy looking sideways instead of straight ahead. Here's the truth. Life isn't a sprint. It's more like sailing across an ocean. You choose the direction, the pace, the stops along the way. But if you're too focused on the boats passing beside you, you lose control of your own rudder. And the funniest thing? While you're busy staring at someone else's boat, they're probably doing the exact same thing, watching yours. That's how this absurd game works. Everyone's looking at everyone, but no one's really appreciating their own path. Stop comparing and do it silently. Remove that habit like an old shirt that doesn't fit anymore. No one needs to know, but you'll feel the difference immediately. Comparing yourself to others isn't just useless. It's a betrayal of your own self. It's like telling your inner self, you're not enough unless you become someone else. But that philosophy, it makes no sense. The Stoics already knew this. They said the only valid comparison is with who you were yesterday. So, what do you do when that voice of comparison starts whispering? Don't try to silence it. Question it. When you hear it say, they're better than me, ask, why am I thinking this? What exactly makes me feel less? Then pause and remember what you've already achieved. Reflect on your own progress, your own battles. We often forget how far we've come when we're too busy watching someone else's path. Another powerful strategy? Gratitude. Yeah, I know, it sounds cliche, but trust me, it works. Be grateful for what you have, for what you've achieved, and for who you are. Because when your focus shifts to what you have, not what you lack or what others have, something changes. Suddenly, that weight of comparison starts to fade, and you realize that the only path that truly matters is your own. Life is too short to spend it running a race that doesn't exist. Comparisons only distract you from what really matters. Living your life in your rhythm with your own rules. And when you start doing that, you'll see just how freeing it is. Let me leave you with a reflection that helped me in my hardest moments. When you stop seeing yourself through the eyes of others, you finally discover who you really are. I truly hope this message brought you some clarity. If you've made it to the end of this video, congratulations. That alone shows your commitment to becoming a better version of yourself. If this resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're not sure what to say, just write gratitude. That way, I'll know you stayed with me until the end. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Join our growing community and keep exploring the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. There's still so much to uncover.